There's this amazing mountain range called Huanyuan Sun. It links the Thantang Plateau up north to the India-China Peninsula down south and is packed with all kinds of wildlife. The elevation changes lead to 4 totally different climates right on the same mountain. This range twists and turns like a giant dragon, stretching across our southwestern borders. Head up to the northern part of Khao Li Kong Mountain. On this northern exploration, I'll dive into the area where the mountains meet the hills. Through my lens, I captured and documented the unique forest in this mountain range to share with everyone. While venturing deeper into the North Kong area, I stumbled upon an awesome lizard on a tree trunk by the road. It was bright green with stunning patterns, and its head and mouth had black net-like designs. Its scales were smooth and sharp, and its long, pointy claws on the sides showed off its incredible climbing abilities. It's one of the bigger members of the Naja genus. This one is about 30 centimeters long, making it one of the largest rock lizards I've come across. It's called the Lujiang rock lizard, and it's only found in Yunnan province, China. It's one of the most distinctive lizards in the Gaoli Gongshan area. Besides its impressive appearance and colors, it also, when a peach tree feels threatened, it will open its mouth to intimidate and try to scare off intruders. These creatures usually hang out in lush river valleys with lots of trees and hills, being active during the day and resting among the branches at night. In their deep habitats, the grass-green patterns on their backs help them blend in really well. When they sense danger, they quickly climb up nearby trees or dive into the grass, camouflaging themselves with their surroundings. On a calm night, I finally reached the distant mountains and stumbled upon a vast, untouched rainforest. As night fell, the sounds of insects, frogs, and wildlife filled the air, and I kicked off my adventure for the evening. I started exploring a damp patch of rocks with water trickling down. When the temperature fell to about 10 degrees, a bright red snake with rough scales slithered out from a crack in the rocks next to me. It was an extremely venomous snake, a red cobra. This model comes from Tibet, China. You can only find them in places like the North Gongshan Road in Yunnan and Chayumotuo in Tibet. The ecosystem there is pretty different from other areas in Yunnan. It's more similar to places in South Asia or Tibet. The species found along the North Gongshan Road and in Tibet are often very similar, so you might come across some unique ones, like the hot-tempered Chayu snake, which is one of them. Like other iron-headed mice, the iron-headed fish has a big, sturdy head and a chunky body. In hot weather or during the dry season, these iron-headed mice usually hide in the mountains for about 10 minutes and rarely come out to move around. These are typical fog snakes. In many places, you usually only see them during the cold, rainy seasons. But in the Gongshan and Zanglan areas of Yunnan, it's the opposite. It's cool and damp all year round, so there are plenty of these snakes. Even when rattlesnakes in other areas have to hide from the heat, the fog snakes are still out and about. Besides Yunnan and Tibet, rattlesnakes are also pretty active in the rainy plains of Huaxi, Sichuan, because of similar conditions. After hanging around for a bit, this one slithered into a gap in the dry leaves nearby. Even though rattlesnakes seem slow, they're actually really muscular and can strike like lightning. At night, you often see all kinds of big moths among the branches, like this one with cloud-like patterns, the big-backed swan moth, and another that looks like a leaf with its body and wings, the striped swan moth. After watching them for a bit, I realized that almost all the leaves around were completely taken over by these moths, piled up together like they were having a meeting or something. As night fell while I was searching, I spotted a really beautiful big moth on the rock face. It's called the moonlight green moth, and the crescent-shaped eye spots on its back are why it got that name. Later, when it was the coldest part of the night, I came across a long snake with ring patterns. It was a typical 3-striped snake. Usually, these white-striped snakes have pretty bad temperaments, but this one didn't seem aggressive at all. The yellow stripes on its body are jagged, and the stripes have a bit of a reddish-brown tone. The Gongshan white-banded snake comes in a variety of colors. Some are just black and white striped, while others have orange-red hues. This type of white-banded snake is medium-sized, mostly active at night, and primarily feeds on lizards, frogs, and other small snakes. Galagong Mountain has 6 types of white-tailed snakes. Down south, the sand white-tailed snake and the two-headed white-tailed snake are pretty common, while up north, you'll see a lot more of the Gongshan white-tailed snake. Usually when you spot a white-tailed snake around here, there's a 9 out of 10 chance it's one of those. In this remote mountain area, there are also some pretty rare and limited white-tailed snakes that I'd love to find on this trip. Whether I actually find them or not depends on my effort and a bit of luck. I've been searching the mountains for a while now, mostly running into those white Gongshan snakes. It's late and dawn is just around the corner. The next morning, as the forest started to lighten up a bit, I spotted a long red snake down by the cliff. It was bright red all over, with some irregular spots. This is the rarest and most beautiful subspecies of the Mandarin rat snake in our country. It's a subspecies that's rarely seen, called jiming, and can only be found in some remote areas of Yunnan and Tibet. Currently, there are 3 known subspecies of the Mandarin rat snake: the fan type, the Miwen type, and the jiming type. Common subspecies can be found all over China, especially in East and South China, while the Litwan subspecies is mainly in the southwest. The Zeman subspecies is only found in the farthest western region of the southwest, and since it's so remote and rare, it's hardly ever seen. There are 2 subspecies in the local population. The ones from Yunnan have a spotted pattern similar to those in northern India and northern Myanmar, while the subspecies from Tibet has wider stripes and looks quite different from others. The population in Yunnan, which is grayish-purple, actually resembles groups in the moss area. Usually, even within the same subspecies or species, you can see a lot of different shapes depending on the region. I've noticed that some local populations of the reverse temperature subspecies have patterns similar to the citizen subspecies with those round dots. For example, the huge bright red individual from Hainan that appeared in this year's video has straight line patterns like the Tai Kek subspecies. So sometimes, the more you learn, the less you want to simplify and sum up a species based on just a few obvious traits. They usually come out at dusk, early night, and in the morning. The big striped one I saw in Hainan was also out in the early morning after being active all night. They're pretty active at dawn and dusk. It's tough to spot them during the hot daytime, except when it's cooler outside. The more people you meet, the less you judge someone based on rumors or looks. The grayish-purple snake likes cool, quiet spots. The name slender snake comes from their sneaky habits and how hard they are to catch. They usually hide out in rotting wood, fallen leaves, and rock crevices. Like the white-capped helmet, they love to munch on small creatures and often sneak into ground squirrel nests to swipe the babies. Most of these slender snakes aren't very big, so they typically go after smaller ground squirrels and their young. Sometimes they even break into nests of birds that like to build on cliffs. Their bright colors often make people think they're venomous snakes, but actually they're not poisonous at all and are pretty shy. This commanding snake is definitely one of the most beautiful I've ever seen among all pet snakes. Its color looks like it's been soaked in blood, and it's really striking. This non-venomous snake is medium-sized and definitely ranks among the prettiest snakes in China. I hope that this rare and sparsely distributed population can thrive and stay healthy for a long time.